everybody. Dan Diker, Al Losey. Welcome to Seven Rivers Racing here on KQEG, brought to you by Curie Heating and Air Conditioning. Lost Leg Beer. He's got a brand new sign back there, too. I kind of like that. Holman American Legion and West Salem Pharmacy. We are just about 60 days away for some racetracks to start getting things in gear, get them out of the garage, and get them on our several racetracks, which we highlight. Of course, Lacrosse, Tomah, the Cooley Go-Kart Raceway, Dells Raceway Park, and we're going to talk some street drags as well on the program today. How's your weekend?
Weekend was really good. Went over to the car show over at the Expo. Saw Brent's car over at the Expo, looking really nice. Then we spent the rest of the weekend down at the Dells.
That's an excellent way to go right there.
Yep.
Spend my weekend sports, and sports. He did mention Brent's name, our guest in the big program today, drives the City Auto Sales, late model number 8, Brent Kirchner. And we're going to talk to Brent here in a couple of moments. I know he's been busy with his crew back in the shop and working on one, I think maybe even two, maybe even three cars. And we'll find out what's going to be in store for Brent this year. Driver orientation meeting was held last night at Fox Hollow, very well attended for those folks at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. And we're going to get into some of the details on what the meeting encompassed last night. I know that they did talk a little bit about the Outlaws, which is the new name for the Rays division. And some of the other things coming up, they have a showdown match race this year. Chuck Deere, the manager of the track, kind of went over that a little bit. A couple of new things as well: flagpole race, Australian pursuit race, and a couple of top dog races. And something we'll talk to Brent about, 220-lap late model features, which I think is neat to have tucked in midway through the racing schedule.
Those, double 20s really are a lot of fun for the late model guys because it gives you a chance to make some changes and possibly go a little quicker in the second race. And it really... The crew really likes it, too, because it gives you a chance to make those changes to the car.
You know, one thing I've seen when they do run the, whether it's 220s or 230s, whatever the case may be at La Crosse, I've always wondered, being out there, what happens if someone wrecks? I mean, are they petrified to wreck in that first race? Because that's a double point night, and we'll talk to Brent about that. If you're in the top 5 and you're close with an contention of nailing down a track championship, you reckon that first race, you lose automatic points in that second race. So, but I have not seen that happen, knock on wood, at the Fairgrounds Speedway so far.
Just like any sport, you have to have a game plan, and you do have to drive a little bit different in the first race than the second race because of the reasons you mentioned.
Well, coming up, La Crosse, their next big move is going to be April 16th. That's Media Day and first practice day. And my high school basketball is done for the year. Girls basketball, boys have wound up. So once the basketball's been pushed aside, the door opens for racing.
It sure does. However, I do got to mention you're doing the Spartan games now, and that's going to add to your schedule. But we will get racing going, and it'll be a major part of our lives.
That's going to be interesting. I do the La Crosse Spartans play-by-play. I've never done football in the summertime, so the never-ending schedule of myself just keeps going. Tomah just had their driver orientation meeting, their second round, getting some folks signed up. First practice is Friday, May 31st. And the Thunderstocks, Bumblebees, ASA Trucks, and Sportsman Cars will be running soon after that. And I'm hearing a lot of talk about people really wanting to go see what that track looks like since it hasn't been open in quite so long.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people going out there. In fact, I think this past Saturday, quite a number went out there. And from what I've been talking to the guys that are at the track, they're getting a lot of cars from different areas, not just La Crosse, but also the Dells and Marshfield, and there's a lot of interest from all over the central Wisconsin area.
That's going to be interesting to see, of course, on the ExcaliburSpeedway.com. Excalibur Speedway will be running on Fridays this year. Also coinciding with Fridays, the Cooley Go-Kart Raceway. That's the little track outside the big track at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. Go-karts again, and they don't have a schedule up yet, but I would assume they're going to start about mid-April. Now, you've got an interest in the go-kart track, as we're going to be releasing 2 different names this year, because if I'm going to be doing the announcing, I'm going to try to get that in my schedule again. 2 gentlemen that you know very well, one of them with the same last name that you have, that races go-karts. They have special names this year because of an incident last year, but we're not going to release what that is till the week before racing. Is the boy ready to go-kart race?
They are. In fact, they kind of amped up their work on the go-karts.
Matter of fact, you have 2 Losies Andy and
Yes, my brother
Yeah.
also, and they've been really working on their go-karts, because actually our late model is going to be at the Family Fun Fest at the Omni Center this Saturday, or this Sunday rather, and they were told that they could bring their go-karts as long as they looked really good, and so they've got new bodies on them. They've been working very hard. I think they got some new motors for those go-karts. So come on out to the Family Fun Fest and look at some late models and some go-karts.
You know the one go-kart from the movie Cars.
Yes.
Those guys can thank me for decorating that for them, because
Yes.
place I was working at the time, I kind of pulled some strings and twisted some arms, and I got some Cars stickers from a bed-making company to get those on the side. So Cooley Go-Karts coming up probably mid-April. Dells Raceway Park practices on May 7th and May 14th. Their first race will be May 21st. And Street Drags at La Crosse, they're going to be coming back this year. Unique Edge Customizing, bringing back Street Drags. 7 events, 12 brackets, possibly 13 or 14, depends upon if Chuck's going to have them run minivans again this year. And their first Street Drag is Friday, May 13th, and that's always a blast. I always enjoy kind of taking a bit of a break from Saturday night racing and announcing some of the street drags. Do want to make mention before we bring Brent Kirchner in. Congrats, Tim Schendel qualified 28th for the Scott's Easy Seed 300 last weekend nationwide race down in Bristol. Ended up starting in front of Danica Patrick, which is always nice. Inside row 14. Did some overheating problems after lap 146. He did finish 36th. That's Iron Eagle Racing. And I know we'll see Tim out at the Fairgrounds Speedway a couple times this year.
Yes, we will, and it is nice to keep an eye on the Busch Series when anyone locally runs, and he's generally the one that has lately run a number of races who's from around here, and we will see him out there in a number of the cars. I don't know, would we see him in one of yours?
I don't think one of mine, but I'm sure you'll see him there.
He's going to be out there.
You never know.
Also, Kelly Byers from Boston had some handling problems. Only finished 2 laps, finished 43rd, but no, congrats. Kelly got in there. He qualified and also got on the big track there at Bristol. Coming up next on the Seven Rivers Racing Show here in KQEG, Mr. Animation, Brent Kirchner, drives the number 8 City Auto Sales NASCAR late model out at the La Crosse Fairgrounds Speedway. He's going to enlighten us on what he expects after a tough way to end the 2007 season. Coming up next on the KQEG Seven Rivers Racing Show.